commend, oh God, today our candidate, Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe, and the other speakers, the Pitt, and all others that is on the platform. We present them before you today. And we are asking you, oh God, this evening in the name of Jesus, that you would look down upon us and you will have us have a good meeting. Help them to be able to present to the people, oh God, to present to the people, oh God, your word, the word that they will hear. Those that are not decided, oh God, that when they listen today, listen to what we are going to be presenting before them today, that they will come to this place where they will decide that they will vote for the People's National Movement. Have your divine way. Remember, Prime Minister, or upcoming Prime Minister, Miss Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I call it into being. I call it into being in the name of Jesus. We are calling him into being, and we are asking you that you will have your divine way. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving, and we know that you're going to answer our prayer today for Christ's sake. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Alfred. Signal Hill, how you feel? We're getting there, we're getting there. This is the voice of the People's National Movement as we continue to take our platform throughout the length and breadth of Tobago, as we continue to remind you that September 7th is a very crucial time, that September 7th is a decision time, and we bring our platform to you, to bring all issues, to indicate to you that, listen, September 7th, it is indeed a national election. We want to remind you that September 7th is a national election where all of us vote to elect a government into office to take charge of our country, Trinidad and Tobago. Allow me to welcome the chairman of our party, Brother Neil Wilson, Tobago Council. So as I'm indicating to all of us, that I say to you, as we continue, this is a very crucial time. And I want all of us, as you allow us into your homes, and as you get the message, that remember that September 7th is serious business. Because all of us have been saying that we are not happy with the way this country is being run at this particular point in time. We are saying all over that we are dissatisfied with those at the helm. We are saying that the People's National Movement is the only political party at this time that can restore our country to the decency and order that we have been accustomed to. We are saying that give us the chance and let us elect persons who are competent, persons who we can put into office to take charge of this country called Trinidad and Tobago. And in Tobago, we are giving you two persons, two standard bearers to join the team in Trinidad. But my friends, before we continue, allow me to recognize those on our platform this evening. I want us to give a signal, a little welcome to one of our own, Brother Dion Isaac. He's also in the back, will be speaking with us shortly. Welcome, Dion Isaac, the Secretary of Settlements and Labor. Also sitting with him in the middle, a beautiful young lady, one of our youth speakers, very energetic, the chairman of the People's National Movement Youth League, Women's League. She's still a youth. Women's League, Miss Melissa James. And she's flanked by your representative, the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, the hardworking brother Jomo Pitt. And sitting next to our chairman is our own former MP for Tobago West, a man who need no introduction. Make a signal, a little welcome, make some noise. Your brother Stanford Calendar, all giving support this evening. And the person who is our standard bearer, who we're going to talk to you in a little while, the person who we are all supporting this evening under the symbol of the People's National Movement. And you know, and our symbol is the Balize, headed by the People's National Movement, coming, give full support to the next representative for Tobago West, Miss Shamfa Cudjoe. But my friends, we're moving on. So as this platform comes to you, we want to let you know that your symbol come September 7th is the Balize. Your party is the People's National Movement. And your candidate in Tobago West is Shamfa Cudjoe. And in Tobago East is Ayana Webster-Roy. Because you see, the People's National Movement, we are confident. We are confident and we need no contradiction that under the People's National Movement government, the policies and structures, those are the policies that put this country where it is today. No matter what it is, you look back, think back, from education to housing, to infrastructure, to the road network, whatever it is, to the energy sector, whatever developmental issues that took place in this country, it was a People's National Movement government that set the course. And that is why we are telling you this evening that the People's National Movement is the only political party. And you know, I must pause as you make some noise and welcome our leader. Make some noise and welcome Honorable Orville London. Giving full support this evening. And my friends, I want to move on very quickly this evening. We want to bring on our first speaker, a very dynamic young woman, very energetic, a youth among us, coming to bring the issues. And you know, the People's National Movement, break no bones about it. We create opportunities for persons, and in every sector. And one of the People's National Movement product, a young dynamic woman, going to come to address us this evening. As I told you, she's the chairman of the People's National Movement Women's League. Make some noise, Signal Hill, as we bring on our first speaker to address you. Make some noise for Miss Melissa James.
Oh, PNM coming. PNM coming.
Good evening, Signal Hill. Good evening, PNM people. It is 13 days and a couple of hours to decision day. Are we ready and are we ready? But amidst all the excitement, my PNM people, I'm here to share with you this evening some sober thoughts and some information that I hope would invoke some thought. Because even though in just 13 days, we will make a statement to our children and the entire world. A statement that would speak volumes about our character as a people, our ambition for our country, and what we believe is a good example for our children. Brothers and sisters, the fruits of bribery, corruption, and immorality have ripened. And while the rotten scent of these fruits have become unbearable, we see the UNC and their Tobago representatives in their respective colors attempting to blindfold us and spray Febreze to mask the scent. We are constantly bombarded and quite frankly annoyed by the desperate cries of a failed prime minister and her cabinet. But we must tell the Madam Prime Minister that it is 5 years too late for her so-called plan. There's a saying in the Bible that there's a season and a time for everything. And as a child, I had always, for some reason, loved politics. And as I grew and as I became more cognitive of what is going on around me and able to read different literature, I became, sort of jealous and even sometimes curious as to how it would have been or what it would have been like to be around when the likes of the persons in the world who would have left significant footprints. If we look internationally, like people like Mr. Martin Luther King, who we all know the legacy that he left behind. And if we look locally at our own founder and father of the nation, the first Prime Minister, Dr. Williams, who would have taken Trinidad and Tobago from a colonial backwater through independence and Republican status to build the foundation for us to become a modern, progressive, stable, and democratic country that is the envy of many countries in the developing and developed world. And we would have seen the likes of even our former Prime Minister before Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Mr. Manning, who would have built on that foundation. And I often wondered, what would it have been like to be around, to be a part of such a legacy, to be a part of such a history? And then the word came to my spirit that there's a time and season for different leaders and different styles of leadership. And it made sense to me, brothers and sisters, because I strongly believe that after we have experienced the morass of the last 5 years under the Kamla Persad-Bissessar government, under her style of leadership, a style of leadership that has brought our country almost to ruins, I strongly began to sense that I was about to become a part of history. I was about to become a part of history because I would be a part of the battalion that would bring Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, our next Prime Minister, into the halls of government. I would become a part of history because I would be a part of the Red Army on September 7th, when we restore good governance, when we restore decency, when we restore and rebuild everything that the PNM had worked so hard to build before, and Kamla Persad-Bissessar just come in after 5 years and mash it up. Yes, our country faces many problems and challenges, but we also have the advantage of many opportunities to achieve the common objective we all pursue of transforming Trinidad and Tobago into a common homeland that we all once more can take pride in. Young people like myself, I urge you to stand up and be counted. Do not be dissuaded or discouraged by persons that carry in their heads the subjective view that young people are inherently irresponsible, incapable, and that we are inadequate. What does Chrislyn Moore mean when she asserts that Parliament is a place for grown men and women, and we should not send any young people there? What do they mean when they call young, qualified, and ambitious Tobago leaders schoolboys and schoolgirls? Now, brothers and sisters, I was relaxing and enjoying the company of my family yesterday evening when I received a phone call and someone urged me, Mel, tune in your television to Channel 5. After tuning in, I never vex so in my life. The person called me whole today, I never answer my phone. Now, I am not the type of person to kick somebody while they're down. So I am not here this evening to make mention of the 10 persons that was in the so-called rally in James Park. I am here this evening to make mention of a statement that I heard their chairman, Mr. Anselm Richards, making, saying that his nephew saw him in town in his forward uniform and run from him because he didn't want to be seen with him. And he was giving the impression that his nephew didn't want to be seen with him because he was afraid of impending discrimination because he would have been seen with a forward jersey. But I want to assure Anselm Richards this evening, it's not because he's afraid of political discrimination. It's because, as my chief secretary and my political leader they say, the boy big and he have sense. He know what kind of company to keep and he know what to stay away from. Young people of Trinidad and Tobago, I am issuing a clarion call to all of you. September 7th is not just election day. It is the day that we, the young people of Tobago, will make those who have registered their mistrust in us and quite frankly disrespected our potential as young citizens to contribute meaningfully at the highest offices of this country, to pay the ultimate price for their apathy towards us. The forward backwards bunch, just like their TOP counterparts, must lose their deposits. And they must lose it from as early as 10 a.m. on election day. As our nation's founding father, Dr. Eric Williams, said in his address to the youth the day before we were granted independence in 1962, we are the future. We are at best the present, at worst the past. And to our tender and loving hands, the future of our nation is entrusted. In our innocent hearts, the pride of the nation is enshrined. On our scholastic development, the salvation of the nation is dependent. And brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you this evening that the PNM holds true to that belief. Just take a look at the majority of the PNM standard bearers for this upcoming general election. Just take a look at the composition of our Tobago House of Assembly. Take a look at who our leader chose to champion Tobago's cause in the 10th Parliament in the Senate. Brothers and sisters, the PNM is the place for any young person who is seriously committed to building island and country. The PNM continues to prove that we do not mamagai our young people with inconsequent inducements, like the cliche of just the youth officer role in the party. PNM young people aren't chosen as a last resort after incumbents are rejected by their constituents because they chose to spend their time in Parliament desecrating the lower house and continuously embarrassing Tobagonians. Brothers and sisters, young people are an integral part of the process in this great institution known as the People's National Movement. The only party that has remained constant on the political landscape in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The only party that has presented ourselves to you election after election, explicit, unmasked, uncloaked, and unabridged over the past 59 years and counting. The party that indeed and in fact built this great country, Trinidad and Tobago. My people, history would show us that virtually all institutions and policies that have improved our standard of living and status in this country was conceptualized and implemented by the People's National Movement. Just look at our education system. Even though it might be in shambles now, we have an education system for Kamlan Prasad Bisasa to mash up because of the People's National Movement policy. Look at our manufacturing, industrial and energy sector. The UNC and the People's Partnership did not build that. Look at our state enterprise sector, our health care sector and the policies, our public sector. It was all built by the People's National Movement. Because as my sister Shamfa Cudjoe says, PNM policy shapes lives. PNM policy improves lives. PNM people, this one is for you. We must guard jealously against the attempts of our shameless and deceitful opponents who continuously try to erase our great history of performance, delivery, and sustainable transformative policies. These people are unable to truthfully boast of the development or growth of any sector in this country, and they could challenge me on that. Except, of course, the misstep sector, the misbehavior in public office sector, the wanton disregard for the intelligence of the citizenry sector, the fired ministers and senators sector, and I'm sure that we could spend all night adding to the list of atrocities. But brothers and sisters, God does not make mistakes. Sometimes we must experience darkness to be able to appreciate the light. I encourage us to seize the opportunity to get back on track. Forge purposely ahead to the light. Forge purposely ahead with the People's National Movement. Forge purposely ahead with Ayana Webster-Roy in the east and Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe in the west. Young people, this is our opportunity to be a part of a celebrated history. In the same way that the discipline, sacrifices, and vision of the great men and women who built this country, your forefathers, my forefathers, they brought us our common victory. So am I convinced that our sacrifices, noble intentions, and commitment to island and country will help us to overcome the legacy of the People's Partnership government over the past 5 years. We shall rebuild and restore what Kamala and her Tobago accomplices stole from us over the past 5 years. Just as the PNM built this country, Trinidad and Tobago brothers and sisters, the PNM, come September 7th, we are committed to repair it. Just as the old aphorism assures us that the pen is mightier than the sword, I assure you, my people, that on September 7th, the right index finger would be mightier than the loudest utterances of dissatisfaction in the UNC and their Tobago accomplices. Rally with us, Tobago. Relief is on the horizon. Only 13 more days to go. We built this country. Our sweat and blood built this country. The People's National Movement and our sound policies built this country, and we would repair it. So to the youth here at this meeting, and to all those at the reach of my voice, I issue a clarion call to you to stand with me and take responsibility for your island and country. We are better than the past 5 years. We must not sit idly by and allow ourselves to be disrespected as young people. We must not sit idly by and allow ourselves to be diminished by any no-come, condescending, blue flag touting wolf in sheep's clothing. Brothers and sisters, we have a work to do, a victory to be won. Brothers and sisters, we have to ensure that on September 7th, a young woman, a woman that has shown she has worth her salt, a woman that has stood and spoken on behalf of the people of Tobago, even when Chrislyn Moore, Delman Baker, Vanilla Allen Toppin, and all of the so-called representatives and friends of Kamla Pusad Bisesa almost wanted to tell her to shut up. She stood the course. She went down there and did exactly what the people of Tobago needed her to do. She spoke on our behalf. She spoke over 81 times. And although that they might try to miscredit her and say that she shouldn't boast about how much time she speaks, I assure her, I urge her to speak proudly and to beat your chest, my girl. Beat your chest and let them know of the caliber of the young people in the People's National Movement. Don't let anybody erase your history, my sister Shamfa Cudjoe. Don't let anybody make you feel inferior. Don't let anybody who was fired, and she don't like me to tell she that she was fired, but don't let anybody who was fired and know that they taste the savory taste of government, they now come in another color to try to get you to send them back there. Don't let anybody like that come and thief your head, my young people. Tobago West, people of Tobago, do not allow anybody to come thief your head. We have a country to restore, and we have a vision for our country. We need to get back on track. We have the right leader, and it is the right time. It is our opportunity now to be a part of the writing of a great and celebrated history. Let us ensure that on September 7th, our boy, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, is the Prime Minister of our beloved land, Trinidad and Tobago. Signal Hill, people of Tobago, the healing begins on September 7th. In the Bible, 7 is the number of completion, and 8 is the number for new beginnings. On September 8th, a new beginning is on the horizon. A new beginning will come with Shamfa Cudjoe in Tobago West and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley as our Prime Minister and Ayana Webster-Roy in Tobago East. And we will all gather in Market Square. PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. I thank you.
You see me? I fed up what going on. The parliament only talking about Keith Rowley. Policemen protesting, fire service too. Kamla, it is clear to see that the people fed up by you. The whole country fed up, everybody fed up. Whole country fed up, everybody fed up.
Signal Hill, we on fire this evening. Make some noise. I said we're ready and we're ready. Are you ready? I told you she was passionate. I told you she was young and energetic. And my goodness, she's on fire. The People's National Movement, as we said, giving opportunities to all young people. And she's saying, Ms. James is saying, all young people, come on board and rebuild and restore. And she's saying that it starts on September the 7th. My friends, I want to let you know and to welcome those who are listening to us on the airwaves. My friends, let us give those listening on Tambring 92.7, let them hear you. Are we ready? The whole of Tobago here in Signal Hill and surroundings, that we are ready. And, you know, coming to give full support, you know, People's National Movement, I said we are a team working closely together in the interests of the people of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. And coming to give full support in the audience around, we have our secretaries. We have Secretary of Agriculture, Brother Godwin Adams. We have Secretary of Health and Social Services, the Honorable Claudia Gunjuk. Also giving full support, Assistant Secretary Handel Beckles. My friends, we are moving on. Moving on straight to our next speaker. We're keeping it going. And coming to address us now is one of your own. You know, we have been talking all about the lack of funding to the THA. This man has been going throughout the length and breadth wherever he speaks. He says, listen, if we had some more funding, we'd have built a lot more houses. Our housing stock would have been greater. He said, listen, they're starving us for housing because they're not giving us the right funding. My friends, when you elect the People's National Movement, Shamfa Cudjoe in Tobago West, and Ayana Webster-Roy in Tobago East, and Dr. Keith Rowley as our Prime Minister in Trinidad, my friends, some of those issues will be no more. Are we ready? Bring on your own. He's the Secretary in the Department of Settlements and Labor, coming from right here, coming to address us this evening. Signal, make some noise as we welcome to address us. Secretary, Councillor Dion Isaac.
PNM coming. PNM coming. PNM coming.
Thank you very much, Brother Larry Paul. PNM family, how you feeling? Permit me to address and to recognize our Chief Secretary and Deputy Political Leader of the People's National Movement, the Honorable Orville Delano London. Permit me also to recognize our very hard-working Chairman of the Tobago Council of the People's National Movement, Mr. Neil Wilson. Permit me to recognize your area representative and Assistant Secretary in the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, Assemblyman Jomo Pitt. Allow me to also recognize the dynamic, vivacious, effervescent Speaker, Miss Melissa Alexis James. Allow me also to recognize in our midst all secretaries and assistant secretaries. And you know, you must leave and save the best for last. Allow me to recognize your next representative in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe. You know, brothers and sisters, PNM family, I sat there and I listened to Melissa. Oh gosh, and my head swell. Goosebumps come up on my skin. And I say to myself, you're right, but she has her own flavor. And I say to myself, this is PNM policy. This is what PNM does with young people. PNM gives young people opportunities. It is for you, young people, to grab hold of those opportunities and make the best of it. Melissa did just that. She grabbed hold of the opportunities presented to her, came in as a member of the Youth League, grew and developed. She's now chairman of the Women's League of the People's National Movement. So brothers, sisters, young people, gravitate to a party that seeks to treat with your personal development, the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, This evening, I'm in a kind of somber mood, and I feel to reflect a little bit. Do I have your permission to reflect? Brothers and sisters, 5 years ago, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago voted for change. And brothers and sisters, we got just that, change. And you know what? It's like a marriage and the marriage vows. When you say, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Brothers and sisters, PNM family, and to our undecided brothers and sisters listening to my voice, I want you to listen carefully to what this platform says tonight, to what you hear on this PNM platform. You see, this UNC government made sure that some, a selected few that is, got things better from a financial perspective, of course, while others got things worse. Remember when they fired individuals left, right, and center when they just got into office in 2010? Remember how they fired a whole heap of workers from CPEP? Remember how they fired individuals who look like PNM, who smell like PNM, who taste like PNM? You remember that? I want us to reflect tonight. Because you see tonight, brothers and sisters, when you reflect and you remember the transgressions, the atrocities of this UNC government that they have inflicted on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and some of their own brothers and sisters as well, you will understand why you have to make a decision to make sure that your well-being is taken care of come September the 7th. Brothers and sisters, you remember how the UNC financiers were spared from facing the United States of America when this UNC government created, and deliberately so, created bad law just so their financiers' friends would not face the justice system in the United States of America? Because we all know that Uncle Sam is a very serious man, and Uncle Sam don't make joke at all. Brothers and sisters, this UNC government passed bad law just so that they could safeguard their financiers. Remember Section 34? And all of a sudden, they had an epiphany and claimed to have taken swift action to repeal that said bad law that they deliberately created. But brothers and sisters, as I said earlier tonight, my message tonight is a very simple and sober one. It's a message of reflection. You remember the last 5 years under this tyranny of a government where everywhere you look, everywhere you turn, left, right, and center in the UNC cabinet, you would find lawyer left, lawyer right, lawyer in front, lawyer behind. And every single Monday morning, they were breaking the law left, right, and center to suit their own whims and fancies. And so, brothers and sisters, some persons did get richer, while some persons did get poorer. Remember SIS? Well, remember that company, SIS? The Jack of all trades company? According to an article, brothers and sisters, from the Newsday, written by Sean Douglas, on Saturday, July 5th, 2014. And the headline reads, SIS bags 2 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. I ain't y'all say Ogudu. Let me say it again. SIS bags 2 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. Let me hear you. Brothers and sisters, some got richer while some got poorer. And the article makes for very good reading. So if you have time, go online on the Newsday and check it out. 1.6 billion for this, 7 million for that, 300 and something million for this. And the list goes on and on. But I am not going to take up valuable airtime to talk about that. Under the UNC government, brothers and sisters, some got rich and some got poorer. While we Tobagonians here in Tobago been catching with Nenen, with Uncle, and with Tantan to get money and sufficient funding to build affordable housing here in Tobago for young people in Tobago and for deserving people in Tobago to put their families under shelter. So while you could give one company 2 billion TT dollars, you can't give the Tobago House of Assembly $491 million to treat with housing in Tobago in this last fiscal year. Shame. Utter shame. And you had representatives in parliament sitting down on their laurels saying absolutely nothing. But that is what they call representation. But take time now. I'm going to tell you tonight what is representation. Take time. And brothers and sisters, they have the gumption to say that they have a plan. All of a sudden, you have a plan. You have a plan, all of a sudden. Let us send the message loud and clear that we Tobagonians have a plan too. We have a plan too. Let them know. We plan to divorce them on September the 7th. No more abuse. No more mismanagement of our public funds. You hearing? So to the TOP forwards, talking about accountability, left, right, and center, telling you that the Tobago House of Assembly must account. Let them ask their friends to account for the mismanagement and the wanton wastage of the treasuries and the funds there and the taxpayers' funds. Let the TOP forward say to the people of Tobago who is financing their campaign. Let them tell us where they're getting money from. Let them tell us. Brothers and sisters, let them account for the more than $400 million worth of briefs given to their lawyer friends, which I am sure a particular member of the TOP forwards might want to tell us or might want to explain on which planet that kind of money is spent on lawyer briefs in such a short period of time. Brothers and sisters, it is extremely important that we remember so that it will help us to make a more informed decision going forward. As the only time I'm talking about forward, going forward with PNM. Now, if you didn't know your neighbor had a dog and you run into your neighbor yard and the dog bites you, what are you going to do the next time before you go in your neighbor yard? And who are you going to blame for that? So what would you do with a government like this? What would you do when you would have learned your lessons over the last 5 years? Well, brothers and sisters, we had 5 long years, 60 long months to learn a very serious lesson from the UNC government, and learned we did. And the lesson that we learned from this UNC government is that they will do what they deem expedient at any given time in order for them to achieve their objective. And brothers and sisters, is that the kind of government you want to run your country? Brothers and sisters, the question begs, do you want a government like that? Do you want another 5 years of tyranny? Do you want the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer? Brothers and sisters, I say to you tonight, sign the divorce papers with pride on September the 7th. And dip your finger in the electoral ink so deep, and dip it with pride, and dip it with joy, and dip it with a sense of relief, and send them packing with absolutely no alimony whatsoever. And after over 400 billion spent in 5 years with your taxpayers' dollars, we must not maintain them at all. We must not maintain their standard of living whatsoever. But you know, brothers and sisters, we Tobagonians does say, behind every dark cloud is a, I can't hear you. Behind every dark cloud is a silver lining. And Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe has been that silver lining in the parliament for the last 5 years, defending Tobagonians, defending Tobago, representing us in Tobago. When the ones elected absconded their responsibilities, neglected their responsibilities, and all of a sudden forgot their role and function in the parliament. You know, as MPs for Tobago East and West, and as a representative, you have to articulate the views of the people from your constituency. You must empathize with your electorate, and you must seek their best interest. And brothers and sisters, I say to you tonight that Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe has done just that and more. And if I were to grade Shamfa tonight, I would say she would receive first-class honors. And if I were to grade the other 2 MPs, I would say that they will have to repeat their classes and they will have to pay double the fee because they have wasted our time in the parliament over the last 5 years, brothers and sisters. Wasted precious time and wasted the confidence that you have placed in them as representatives the last 5 years. Absolutely nonsense. And you see, brothers and sisters, when you go to Trinidad as an MP or a representative, you are going there to give your pound of flesh and to put in that which is necessary to fulfill your mandate. And I say to you tonight, Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe has fulfilled her mandate. And I say it without fear of contradiction, that Shamfa has been the only true, the only real, the only genuine Tobago MP in the parliament for the last 5 years. Brothers and sisters, according to the chief secretary, let me borrow a little line from him now. He's teaching me, and let's put it into context so that you have a real appreciation for the facts. Because I don't believe that the parliament website would lie. Would you believe so? I think the parliament website is reliable, and it would tell us the truth, and it would be efficient. It's a source of information that we could quote. Fine? So let's look at Dr. Delmon Baker's stewardship. After all, let us respect him. He's a doctor after all. He was first elected on May 24th, 2010. His first maiden speech, his maiden contribution, which is his first speech in the House, was September 14th, 2010. 4 months after he was elected. So you mean to tell me, brothers and sisters, Dr. Delmon Baker sat in your parliament as your representative for 4 months and said absolutely nothing? Listen good, enough. I get this information from Parliament website tonight, eh? Listen good. Bills debated. We're still talking about Dr. Delmon Baker. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could count it on 2 hands. Motions debated. 8. A total contribution from your West MP. 14 contributions over 5 years, a total of 60 months. 1-4. Now let's look at Ms. Vanilla Allen Toppin. First elected May 24th, 2010. And tell me if you pick up a pattern, brothers and sisters. Listen good. Listen good. Maiden contribution, September 15th. So she tagging just behind Delmon. Right. 1 day behind Delmon. 2010. 4 months later again, eh? So she sat in Parliament for 4 months and said absolutely nothing in defense of the people of Tobago. Bills debated, Vanilla Allen Toppin. 9. You can count that on 2 hands too. Motions debated, 8. A total of 17 contributions from your your former East representative in 5 long years. Now let's look at the works and performance of a true representative of the people of Tobago, Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe. I don't have time with Chrislyn, sister. First entered as an opposition senator, June 18, 2010. And this evening, brothers and sisters are watching on the website. And if you see she cute little chubby face, oh gosh, if you see that cute little chubby face, she going there with her mother's milk, you know. But hear this, let me get back serious, because this is serious business, brothers and sisters. Maiden contribution, Tuesday, July 6th, 2010. Few days after she went into the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe stood on her feet to represent the people of Tobago. A few days after, not months, not weeks, a few days after. But that then all will go, hold on now, hold the applause. Bills debated, 63. Oh, I like that. Let me hear it again. Motions debated, 18. A total sum of 81 contributions in 5 years. Now, come on. Brothers and sisters, I don't know about you, but tonight I am impressed with Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe's stewardship. She has served with distinction. She has represented the people of Tobago, while others have failed to do so. She has proven herself, and she deserves an opportunity to be elected officially as your representative of Parliament for Tobago West. The girl walk. Me, I want to know what the others say. They cannot stand up in she shoes. They could say what they want. They can't stand in Shamfa shoes at all. So when the People's National Movement bring young people for you, you better take them, because it's good, hard-working young people. We ain't making joke. We ain't wasting time. We ain't going to Parliament and sit down and scratch. Brothers and sisters, the facts are the facts, and the facts are clear. And when it comes to service, Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe has shown her capacity, her commitment to the people of Tobago. And people could say what they want, she walk. And it is written in Hansard, the girl walk. So they could want to call Shamfa all they want to call Sheena, but young girl and little school girl. But this hard-working school girl has now become a young lady. And the mother's milk is no longer on her face. She slimmed down, she looked trim after all that set of hard work. And she ready for more work. So she deserves another 5 years as your representative in Parliament. So I call on all Tobagonians. And I thank all the young people tonight for coming out in their numbers to give support to our candidate, Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe. I call on all Tobagonians to put your vote in support of a party that will return good governance to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I call on all Tobagonians to vote for People's National Movement and to vote for our candidate, Ms. Shamfa Ashaki Cudjoe in the West, and to vote for our candidate, Ms. Ayana Webster-Roy in the East. And brothers and sisters, on that beloved evening of September the 7th, on that faithful day of September the 7th, we can all be able to stand and hug up and love up and kiss up and rejoice and indicate that great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall always prevail. I thank you.
Signal Hill, we're ready and ready. Make some noise for Brother Dion Isaac. And we're moving on. My friends, we're moving straight on. I want to bring on your next speaker. But before I do, I was just told by Brother Beckers. He said, listen, he told me that he went to a launch yesterday of the forwards. He said a launch, but they will never take off. I wasn't there. I wasn't there, I was told. My friends are moving on. Are you ready? Signal Hill, are we ready? This is serious business. September 7th is serious business. We're discussing issues. We're telling you why you must vote. It is your responsibility to put governance to restore this country to order. My friends, while they're in Tobago talking all sort of thing about people of the People's National Movement, not accounting. My friends, they're not accounting for things that are happening in Trinidad. But we're going to talk about it a little later. But let me bring on your next speaker. He is the representative of Lambo Signal Hill. A very serious young man. A hard-working young man. He is a true representative, a very genuine man. A man who speaks from the heart. A man who represents you wherever he goes. He's serious about sport. Let me bring on your own. Are you ready for him? Your representative, the Honorable Jomo Pitt, Assistant Secretary, Education, Youth Affairs, and Sport. Make some noise.
PNM family, tell me, are you ready? To build back a country. We forward with Kid Rowley. But are you ready there? Tobago, are you ready? Rolling with the Red Army. For the love of your country, please your foot with the
Yeah, my people, let's do this. Let's do this. Good night to one and all. Good night to one and all. As usual, the protocol dictates you acknowledge the presence of big people on the head table. Let me start off with the man himself, the legend, the icon, Mr. Orville. Delano of London. I find everybody using middle names now, so let me go with middle names. Delano London, the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. I acknowledge the presence of the Chairman of the Tobago Council, PNM, Mr. Neil Wilson. I'm going to find out your middle name the next time around, Mr. Wilson. We're going down the line. The Secretary for Settlements and Labor, Speaker just ahead of me, Mr. Dion Isaac, Pelton, Chris. Thank you very much. We're going down with the middle names. Yes, Chris. We also acknowledge the presence and the contribution given by that fiery young lady called me Miss Melissa James, the chairman of the Tobago Women's Council. Ria. Yes, Ria. So we're going to everybody middle name before the night is done. Mr. Larry Paul, thank you for the introduction. Also, the secretaries in the midst that we have here, Mr. Godwin Adams, Ms. Claudia Grooms-Duke, again, middle names going to be coming later. Former secretaries, Mr. Whitney Alfred, Mr. Oswald Williams, must acknowledge the presence of the past, because upon those shoulders is where we're standing on now. And then there's me, the poor and polite one from Lambo, Jomo. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you this evening, and by extension Trinidad and Tobago, to fully endorse Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe as the next MP for Tobago West. Let me just get that straight out for everybody to hear. I fully endorse. I can't think of anybody who could dare substitute or I could bring on in her place. Shamfa, 90 minutes of football, 5 years, fire and brimstone for them in Trinidad. There comes a time when one has to make a decision between right and wrong, between good and bad, choosing between a dismal and scary future versus having a bright, predictable future. If something is wrong yesterday, it will be wrong today, and will continue to be wrong tomorrow. Time doesn't change wrong and make it right, or right to wrong. A favorite saying of the deceased, Mr. Mount Pleasant, and we all should know it. Right is right. Right is right. All day, all night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a country with a central government that has done so much wrong that it no longer shocks us. And that is quite troubling. Just as shocking as the wrong deeds themselves is the government's attempt to either cover up the act or try to explain the act, saying that it was a mistake or an oversight. A mistake or oversight is something that is done by accident. A mistake is when you do something and the outcome is not what you expected or hoping for. But since this government has come into office, every other week and sometimes twice on a Friday, a new scandal hits the front page on the newspapers. What's quite scary is that despite all the government scandals hitting the newspapers, our two MPs, and I use that term loosely, MPs, members of parliament, representatives for Tobago, have assumed the position, silence of the lambs. They say nothing, they do nothing, they just sit there. As Mr. Isaac pointed out, and he laid out the track record in comparison to Ms. Cudjoe. Performance beat will talk all day, all night, every time. Ladies and gentlemen, as Mr. Paul pointed out, I'm the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, with the specific responsibility for sports. Let me describe some of the injustices done to us in Tobago that you may not be aware of, that our MPs have just sit silently by and watch these acts being committed. The Dwight York Stadium has been out of commission or full commission for more than 3 years. Because the stadium falls under the responsibility of the Ministry of Sports, just like the police stations fall under the responsibility of central government, we at the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports entered into an agreement with the ministry. We will see about the track. You see about the other things in the stadium, the lights, the toilets, etc. We did our part at a cost of more than $10 million. We replaced the track with an internationally certified Mondo track. any record set on that track will stand because of the international certification. Our Dwight York Stadium track is probably the best in the Caribbean, if not the best in the Western Hemisphere. Yet is yet to be used because the Ministry of Sport has not lived up to their bargain. Ladies and gentlemen, to date, the stadium lights are still to be replaced. I've been told that the lights have been ordered months ago and are sitting in a warehouse somewhere in Trinidad. On a few occasions, I've inquired on the status of the lights, and the reasons given could not stand up to logic. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few months, 2.5 years that I've been in this position, I'm really trying to have the patience and the tact and the diplomacy, like the Honorable Chief Secretary, to deal with some of the things that you're faced with. Unfortunately, I ain't reached here yet. I have neither the patience nor the tolerance to deal with the foolishness and puppetness. If you're supposed to do something and that is your responsibility, me begging you to do it. Just as we had to scrape up the money to find the money to replace the Mondo track, we go find the money to get the lights in the stadium up and going. The lights, and what is even more frustrating, ladies and gentlemen, is not no big set of money. It's $3 million. It's going to take less than 2.5 weeks to put the lights up. To find that money seems to be quite a challenge for Trinidad or for central government. However, finding $23 million to pull up on a precipice, an $8 million fire truck, no problem. Even though the job costs $50,000. They can find money for that, but somehow it's a challenge to find money for Tobago. Just as Secretary Isaac pointed out, money for our housing, big challenge. But the Greenway House and they're doing all kind of foolishness down in Trinidad, they have money for that. But September 7th, Judgment Day, is a different dispensation going to be coming into office. Not one word was heard from our MPs on that issue. Nor have they said anything about getting the stadium lights fixed. But mind you, they're all up in THA business, doing things that fall clearly not under their jurisdiction. Issues like the police stations in Roxborough and Grange, the fire stations, things that they should be championing that cause in Parliament. Again, silence of the lambs. Nothing is said. And with regards to the police stations, contracts were already signed just before they came into office. And somehow the contracts were revoked and we just sat in abysmal waiting for these stations to come aboard. Ladies and gentlemen, I pointed out, for some strange reason, money always seems to be a short supply for Tobago, particularly in the sports arena. We have individuals from Tobago who have been selected for national duty, but for some strange reason, again, money is always an issue. Can't find money for them to go down to Trinidad to train on a boat or a plane. $300 is a challenge. Transport to and from the airport is an issue. Meals for our athletes, issue. Equipment, issues. They can't pay for all that. Yet again, no word from our MPs, no offer from assistance from our MT. Somehow, money was found for that program, and I use the term loosely, program, live sport. Millions. People who was paying millions to teach a class and teach a class yet. And boasting that they ain't paying back that money. How nobody has seen a jail yet is beyond me. But part and parcel of the government that we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do something wrong once, we may allow you to get away with it, even though the explanation may be somewhat shaky. However, if you keep doing wrong, then you can no longer call your actions mistakes. You're doing wrong with the expectation that there be no consequences. You ain't care about nobody, and you don't even care about the law. We all know that the saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Someone once defined stupid as being knowing and seeing truth, but still believing in lies. Ladies and gentlemen, the quantity and the consistency in which the central government has done what they have done over the last few years, 5 years, leads us to come to one conclusion. they view us, the citizens of this country, as either foolish or stupid. They probably even believe that we're both foolish and stupid. What other conclusion can we come to for them to expect another term in office? Ladies and gentlemen, on September 7th is the day when we have to ensure that good continues to always triumph over evil. We have to make sure that right continues to always win and right never gives in to wrong. Just as in January 2013, when we showed the country, the region, the world, the right and humble will always win against wrong and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, this election has to be the easier choices to be made of all elections in the past. On one hand, you have Mr. Integrity himself, Dr. Keith, middle name Dr. Keith Rowley. And on the other hand, you have Mrs. Prasad Processor, aka mistake action only when flour more than water. On one hand, you have a dynamic young lady with Tobago passion and pride, Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe. And on the other hand, we have individuals whose loyalties are very suspect at best. We have the oldest and greatest political party this country has ever seen. And on the other hand, we have an all-star pickup team called PP. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the choices and the decisions are easy. As long as you let your conscience be your guide, I'm confident that you will make the right decision. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to celebrating with you on the night of September 7th, when we shall say in a loud voice, great, great, and it shall, all day, all night, every time.
PNM family, tell me, are you ready? To build back a country, we forward with King Rowley. When are you ready then? Tobago, are you ready? Rolling with the red army. For the love of your country, place your vote with the PNM family. Tobago, get ready.
The man himself speaking from the heart. Let's hear it from brother Jomo Pitt. Listen, brother Pitt saying we had enough. He's saying, listen, we had enough. I said we can't take it anymore. Because you see, while there are those who are going left, right, and center throughout Tobago, talking all kind of things about Tobago's business as they want to put it, or we're not accounting. But my friends, they're not saying any word about those things that are going on, mistakes in Trinidad, about life sport and all those things. Billions being wasted, and we can't get some lights in Dwight York Stadium. That's what he's saying. That's what I should be talking about. This is a national election. Let me talk national issues. When the time comes, because deal with Tobago issues, we will never be deceived. September 7th is national election. There's only the People's National Movement on one side and the UNC on the next side. But my friends, we know the People's National Movement. We know the track record. And the others, they're suspect, according to Brother Pitt. You know, it comes to the point. This is the point where I will say, it's fire. We ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? We gain them fire. She said, burn them. Are you ready? Fire. More fire. I said, more fire to come. Are you ready? She was born in the village of Bethel. Are you ready? Yeah. Listen. She has a bachelor's degree in international affairs. Are you ready? She has a master's of science degree with distinction. Are you ready? In international affairs. My friends, I want to bring on the standard bearer for the People's National Movement. She gave them fire in Trinidad, left, right, and center. She stood up for Tobago 81 times in the parliament and will continue to stand in the interest of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. Are you ready? More fire. Bring on the next representative for Tobago West. My friends, make some noise. More fire for Shamfa, for Shamfa. Let me hear you. Shamfa Cudjoe.
People in the West, are you ready? Oh yeah, Shamfa, Shamfa Cudjoe, Shamfa, PNM people. So you must put your X. We go vote in the West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Signal Hill, how you feeling? I think I could safely say, look at people. And that means something because it's more than 30 of you out there. I thank you for coming out. Brothers and sisters, allow me to recognize in our presence the Honorable Neil Wilson, the chairman of the Tobago Council. Permit me to recognize in our presence also Mr. Orville Delano London, political leader of the People's National Movement, Tobago Affairs. The Honorable Stanford Callender, chairman of the Tobago West constituency and former member of Parliament for Tobago West. Your area representative, Mr. Jomo Pitt. Secretary of Housing and Settlement, Mr. Dion Isaac. And our fiery speaker, Miss Melissa Ria Alexis James, my dear friend. Brothers and sisters of Signal Hill, members of the People's National Movement, steadfast, devoted soldiers of the Red Army, good evening. Brothers and sisters, as simple as this seems, this is history in the making. We gather here once again on this great day. The day is getting closer and closer. It is right around the corner. 13 days and a couple hours to go. For 5 long years, they had us, a nation under siege, and our people under the attack. But in 13 days, we will stage the great fight back. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege, brothers and sisters, to stand here before you tonight as your candidate for the Tobago West constituency in the upcoming general elections. I am humbled by the support you have expressed and the confidence you have reposed in my ability to represent you when the PNM forms the next government of Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, in 2010, the people of this nation, they made a bet, they made a gamble, they took a chance with their future. The United National Congress and their followers promised us the moon and the stars. They promised us everything. We gave them our votes. We fell for it. They promised us pension at 60 years old and then tell us we should have redefined print. They promised us $20 minimum wage and then tell us, how could you even believe that our economy cannot afford that? They promised us crime reduction. They promised us meaningful employment, racial unity. They told us flooding would be a thing of the past. And if we didn't vote for them, blood would run like water in our streets. They promised us an improved judicial system and sophisticated policing. They promised us new politics and good governance, value for your money, transparency, accountability, morality in public life. We told you from the onset that you were being fooled. This was not in their nature. This is no part of their DNA. But somewhere along the line, you lost yourselves. You lost your sanity and you were hypnotized. You were hypnotized with national unity song. They threw confetti out of the skies and shouted, we would rise. We would rise. Brothers and sisters of Signal Hill, 5 years later, how are you feeling? Brothers and sisters of Tobago, 5 years later, how do you feel? We've gone from crisis to crisis, mishap to mishap, mayhem to mayhem, from Rich Marine Gate to the Gopal contract, Section 34, SIS, SOE, Life Sport Gate, thousands of contracted workers sent home, email gate, prison gate, room 201 gate, ganja gate, NGC mismanagement. EFCL mismanagement, witness tampering, the abuse of power. Brothers and sisters, may I go on? Must I go on? I don't need to, because you know them all too well. Never in history has there ever been people so assaulted, and never in history have a people intelligence and dignity been so abused. Brothers and sisters, we sat here for 5 years, the largest cabinet in the history of the Commonwealth. Nothing to show for it. Make work ministries, make work makeshift ministers, Kobo sweat senators, 5 days on, 5 days off. Everybody got a chance to be prime minister. Brothers and sisters, never in history has there been the firing of 24 ministers chosen and appointed by the prime minister herself. And then she wants us to congratulate her for firing her. She said that is courage, that is leadership. My sister, you chose them. You foisted these criminals on us, and you want us to praise you for being a miscreant magnet too? To put icing on the cake, you rehired these same criminals to be advisors in the ministries that they would have mismanaged. Brothers and sisters of Signal Hill, you call that transparency? Brothers and sisters of Tobago, you call that accountability? Brothers and sisters of Signal Hill, did you get value for money? Brothers and sisters of Tobago, is that leadership with integrity? We spent 5 long years in the sweltering heat under the UNC sun. We've witnessed the vicious and sustained attacks on all our institutions. The police can't do their work in peace. State boards cannot make a decision without feeling the brunt of their long arm of corruption. Is that what you voted for, brothers and sisters? Are you better off, any better off today? And they're asking you for 5 more years. 5 more years to waste $500 billion more. 5 more years to waste 5 more years. They go kill we. Brothers and sisters, they're asking for 5 more years. We could barely stand them for 5 more days. Brothers and sisters, we sustain the blows. But I say thank you. We in Tobago, we have to say thank you for a Tobago House of Assembly. And thank God for a People's National Movement House of Assembly. Because as simple as it seems and as frail as the legislation may seem to be, it remains the only buffer between the madness that happens in Trinidad and us here in Tobago. Brothers and sisters, it is the only buffer that prevents us from bearing the brunt of PP wickedness in Tobago. So we need to understand the importance and the sacredness of a well-functioning Tobago House of Assembly, and respect the role it plays in securing our people, in preserving our Tobago traditions, and in improving the quality of life for all Tobagonians. A Tobago House of Assembly must be strengthened and must be recognized and must be respected at any and all costs. And if there ever is a government or representative that doesn't respect or embrace that, they have no place in Tobago. So brothers and sisters, this is not just about choosing an administration or central government, but for us in Tobago, it is about choosing an administration that would form the central government, an administration that cares for the people of Tobago, an administration that respects the Tobago House of Assembly. And I am afraid that that has not been our experience under the United National Congress, along with their minions here in Tobago. Our Tobago representatives did us no justice, as they put down their Tobago ideals and totally embraced that of the UNC. The TOP has been more UNC than the UNC. The Tobago Forwards, well, that is their new blue-eye baby. Brothers and sisters, they got carried away with the luxury of office and forgot about service. They were dumb dogs in Jerusalem. Tobago had no voice. Tobago had no representation. Brothers and sisters, about 4 months now and counting. When last you see a representative? They left office, no reason, no explanation, Brothers and sisters of Tobago West, when last have you seen your representative? And these people want 5 more years? 5 more years to humiliate Tobago people? 5 more years to denigrate our august institution? 5 more years to talk about and to try to figure out what exactly is this integrated Tobago campus? 5 more years of watching you taxi with national security helicopters back and forth while we have to sit and wait at the airport because Caribbean Airlines cannot get itself together? 5 more years, no sir, no ma'am, no Chrislyn, no Ashworth, no Kamala, not under our watch. You see, they have lost their compass. They have lost their anchor, drifting seamlessly with a drunken UNC hand at the tiller. No more Kamala, no more. No more Chrislyn Moore, no more. No more Ashworth Jack, no more. Because for Trinidad and Tobago to grow, the UNC must go. For Trinidad and Tobago to grow, Kamala must go. For Tobago to grow, the TOP must go. For Tobago to grow, the Tobago forwards must go. Well, I really shouldn't say that they must go because they ain't reached anywhere yet. As the speaker before me said, they launched, but they would never take off. And that is evident by the 30 people that showed up at their rally yesterday. That couldn't have been a rally. That was a rehearsal for the rally. So look on for the rest of it to come. Your friends and family have all right and reason to run from you when they see you in your blue. I am amazed, brothers and sisters, by the audacity of this disorganized, decrepit, headless blue horse. Spent the last 5 years sleeping in the UNC stable and eating UNC hay. Then to come back to me 2 weeks before the election to fool Tobagonians into believing that you are no longer suckling UNC milk. Let me tell you something. We are Tobagonians. We quiet, but we're not stupid. So you could change your name, you could change your color, you could change your slogan, you could change your constitution. We know who you are and to whom you belong. You are born, bred, and butter-fed by the United National Congress. So don't come here telling me, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I did that as a child. And now I'm a man and I'm doing things differently. You need to tell us, when you were hugged up in bed with the UNC, you eat from the UNC. You slept with the UNC. And now you want Tobago people vote and you're trying to hide that you still have UNC things. We're quiet, but we're not stupid. So while Tobagonians, whilst we say UNC Minister Delman Baker, he was bad or he was disrespectful and downright out of place, just like the Prime Minister, he was advised. So brothers and sisters, tell me, who was his advisor? We didn't get the chance to reprimand the thief, but we would deal with the upholder. Brothers and sisters, we in Tobago, we quiet, but we're not stupid. So I want you to tell the Tobago forwards and the UNC that Tobagonians are alive. We are alive, alert, and well aware. We would not be hoodwinked. We would not be forced into another marriage of inconvenience. You fooled us once, shame on you. Fooled us twice, shame on me. And as Secretary Claudia Groom-Duke says, once bitten, twice shy. Tobago is fed up of your misdeeds. Tobago is fed up of your lies. We are disgusted by your charade. We want no part of that. We want no part of you. You had your chance and you blew it. You spent the last 5 years doing total nothing. You were accused of sleeping on the job, eating on the job, shopping on the job, drinking on the job, even smoking on the job. And on September 7th, you are going to be out of a job. Brothers and sisters, what this country needs now is sound policy. What Trinidad and Tobago clamor for is a robust plan. What we require is effective implementation. What better party to do that than the People's National Movement? What this country needs right now is a sober leader. a leader with his dignity, moral compass, and integrity intact. Who better to lead us than our very own son of the soil, a visionary, a man of integrity himself, our Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Brothers and sisters, the People's National Movement stands strong on a rich legacy of intelligent leadership, precise policy, well-constructed plans, and effective implementation. We created the systems. We built the institutions. We transformed the economy. We developed our people. There is not one major national accomplishment without the stamp of the People's National Movement on it. And this is something that we ought to be proud of. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. We built it and we would repair it. You see, brothers and sisters, when we set out to build this nation in 1962, we envisioned a strong, small, confident, and resilient nation, making the most of its resources and the very best of its people. This is the trademark of the People's National Movement. We built the schools and the teachers' training colleges to educate our children. We developed and steered the energy industry so we could have a robust economy. We invested in public housing to improve the construction industry, to promote home ownership, and to improve your standard of living. We created and expanded the social safety net so that the least fortunate could stand a better chance at catching up and excelling. Such is the legacy of the People's National Movement. PNM policies advance economies. PNM policies change lives. But as much as we boast of this legacy, brothers and sisters, we ought not to forget our responsibility to protect that which we have established and what we have gained over the years, and our duty to create a brighter future for the next generation, thus bequeathing a greater legacy. Our duty to develop a school system so that children could excel rather than simply pass through. To establish a monitoring and control mechanisms to improve the effectiveness of our social programs, to gradually wean people off of these programs and to empower them to become more self-sufficient, to ensure that the social goods and services reach the people who really need them. Our duty to diversify the economy, to develop our youth, to empower local government, and to grant internal self-government to the Tobago House of Assembly. Brothers and sisters, today we as PNM people could stand tall and proud because last week, Thursday, we launched a manifesto and there were more than 30 people there. Brothers and sisters, our manifesto is something we ought to be proud of. A broad-based plan that catapults our nation to development, our nation's development with some benefit for everyone. Brothers and sisters, a plan for each and everybody, the young and the old, sustainable strategies. And I am pleased with these plans developed, especially those for our young people, to direct them in the area of entrepreneurship, to diversify the economy, to take them out of the back seat of their development into the very front seat, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, everywhere you go, everywhere I walked over these past 3 months, you meet young people saying, I want a walk, I want an early morning walk. But brothers and sisters, our policy and our mandate this time around is to guide young people towards developing their own businesses so they wouldn't have to want a walk, but they will get to the stage of giving other people work. Brothers and sisters, we are ready to develop small businesses to increase job creation and economic growth. The PNM stands ready because we would do this with institutional strengthening. So we would improve business development unit, NEDCO, and the Agricultural Development Bank to better serve you, young people of Tobago. So you could plow your trade, you could apply your trade. We are going to direct you to NTA and the other certification agencies so you could get certification to do what you ought to do to make a dollar and to get some bread for yourself. So instead of going arms open, one day you're going to be stretching hands and giving food to somebody else. teach you how to fish rather than giving you a fish. Thank you. There will be enhanced legislation to protect our innovators and our entertainers and others in the creative industry. More in-depth training so that young people could monetize their skills. More financial support, technical support, improve marketing so we could get local products from here in Tobago. You're offering off the local shelves onto the shelves of the European countries and the Americas. Better business development assistance, better grants for everybody, brothers and sisters. There will be competitions, workshops, and fairs in order to hone entrepreneurial spirit. And consider that, brothers and sisters. Consider that alongside better inter-island transport and connection from Port of Spain or Toco all the way to Tobago. You choose. Brothers and sisters, we are going to be working on land deed registration and land title registration. They promised, they spoke a lot, brothers and sisters, but we would put everything into action. We would have brought to the parliament in 2009 an omnibus package, 3 pieces of legislation to resolve once and for all this land title matter. It came to the parliament in 2012, never debated, and never came back after that under this UNC because Tobago is not their priority. But what they didn't do, the People's National Movement would do. So we are bringing to you an industrial port for Tobago so that business people could move their goods back and forth seamlessly, brothers and sisters. Innovation center down at Cove so that young people could start up their businesses and get the technical resources to help them do so. Brothers and sisters, and these commitments, I wouldn't say promises because we don't promise. A promise is a comfort to a fool. Our commitment, our bond, our pact with the people. This could be found on page 56 to 75 of your manifesto. Brothers and sisters, your country is depending on you. If ever your country needed you, that time is now. What they didn't do, brothers and sisters, we will do. Because we stand resolute in our commitment to do our duty to restore decency, our duty to revive democracy, our duty to rebuild our institutions, our duty to reunite our people, and that we will. Ayana Webster-Roy in the east and Shamfa Cudjoe in the west. We stand ready. Brothers and sisters, and you know, I still hear them. I heard them still trying to call us children, saying that we are too young to articulate the issues. But brothers and sisters, all of you, each and every one of you, your eyes have heard, your eyes have seen, and your ears have heard. And by now, you know that common sense beat old age any day. Brothers and sisters, because they may be older and they may be well lettered, but they lack strength of character, they lack decency, they lack honesty, they lack integrity, they have no love for Tobago and a tremendous loyalty for the UNC. So what they didn't do, Ayana Webster-Roy in the east and Shamfa Cudjoe in the west would do, alongside 39 other good candidates, brothers and sisters. We stand ready. We are young, but we are competent. We little, but we talawa. And we're leading you under a great leader, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, our standard bearer. Brothers and sisters, we are set to rebuild this nation. We are set to reunite our people. But brothers and sisters, can I tell you that we cannot do it alone? We need you, every single one of you, to join us in this battle to save this great nation. We need you to respond to this call of duty. We call on you to take your responsibility for the welfare of your country. Your country is depending on you. Your community is depending on you. Your children are depending on you. And I have every confidence that you would come true. We did it before, brothers and sisters, and we will do it again. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. So tell your neighbors, brothers and sisters, tell your friends. This time we're making the right decision. We're rolling with the PNM. This is no simple request. This is a clarion call, brothers and sisters, to put down your foot and to stand up and let your voices be heard. We have our integrity to preserve. We have a people to protect. So I'm calling on you, brothers and sisters, to mind your business. Go out and do what nobody else could do for you. 5 long years we were under attack, brothers and sisters, but in 13 days and a couple hours we would stage the great fight back. You have a plan for Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago have a plan for you. Out and bad, we ready and we ready. Show them no mercy, we ready and we ready. Show them no remorse, we ready and we ready. Take your position and attack with full force, we ready and we ready. Brothers and sisters, on the 7th of September, let's make it a September to remember. They will lose their deposit in the east, they will lose their deposit in the west. They lose the deposit in San Fernando, and you know they're sure to lose the deposit in Tobago. And when all is said and all is done, we've placed our votes and victory is won. We shout from the depth of our lungs to the top of our voices. We will join in one unity and sing, brothers and sisters. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And by the grace of God Almighty, we shall prevail. I thank you.
People in the West, are you ready? Warrior, Shamfa, Shamfa, Cudjoe, Shamfa, PNM people. So you must put your X. We go vote in the West. PNM choose the best. Representative next. This woman ain't easy. This woman could talk. And all you don't doubt me, she could walk the walk. Just give she a chance. And all you go see how she will deliver all she policies. So you must put your head. We got vote in the West.
Signal in, let me hear you. She ready? I tell her she's ready now. Are you ready? Yeah, me ready, man. But remember, elections are won on election day. All of us have a responsibility to go out and vote. Every single one of us to stand ready to rebuild, stand ready to restore, stand ready to reignite, stand ready to in defense of Trinidad and Tobago. My friends, we're moving forward. A man who needs no introduction at all. We're moving straight on. The leader of the pack. My friends, he's an international man. When in Paltavia, he home. When in Wim, he home. When in Signal Hill, he home. When in Lowland, he home. I don't know, man. The man live all over. And when in Trinidad, he home. They're saying, listen, they want him to lead Trinidad. Listen, you hear it on the radio station, they're calling. They say, we want Orville. We tell them, wait. We're standing on next man. We're standing Keith. But right now, I want to bring on our leader. Because we have a leader. He's the deputy political leader of the People's National Movement Tobago Affairs. The political leader of the PNM Tobago Council. You're the Chief Secretary of Tobago, our own, the international man, our leader who stands resolute to defend Tobago. The man put his career on the line and said, listen, he's standing in defense of Tobago and Tobagonians. And you made all of us proud. Bring on to address all of us. Your representative, my friends, your own Chief Secretary, the Honorable Orville, London.
PNM coming. PNM coming. PNM coming.
Signal Hill, good night. You're looking good. And I feel if Forwards had a crowd quarter this size yesterday, they'll have been celebrating all now. let me take the opportunity to recognize our very hard-working and long-standing chairman of the Tobago Council, Mr. Neil Wilson. I'd like to recognize on the platform the Secretary with Responsibility for Settlement and Labor, Mr. Dion Isaac. And you know, a man who has matured as a politician, but has continued to show the kind of service and the kind of commitment to his community and his people. He himself doesn't recognize how effective a politician he is becoming. Your own Jomo Pitt. I'd like to recognize the secretaries and assistant secretaries in the audience, and I want to join in endorsing in one of my home communities. You're quite right. I really reside just off the road. I am temporarily residing in Lowland, but I'm living at Signal Hill. So I want to stand in my own community and endorse a young lady who continues to impress, who has impressed us with her commitment and her passion over the past 5 years, and I'm certain will impress us and will serve us with distinction for the next 5 years. Our next representative for Tobago West, Ms. Shamfa Cudjoe. And ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I must confess to mixed feelings this evening. The first is a feeling of pride. You know, as I sat there and I listened to the speakers, 2 young women and 2 men who kind of young. And I felt pride that the PNM is a political organization that ensures that young people who have the capacity, who have the commitment, and who have the integrity are given their opportunity to serve. And I say to you tonight, we in the PNM make no apologies when we bring young, committed, intelligent, articulate young people to serve the people of Tobago, and will continue to do so. But I'm saying to you, brothers and sisters, that I sometimes get a little concerned when I recognize the situation in which we find ourselves at this point in time. And I'm not over-exaggerating when I tell you this is the most critical period in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, maybe for the last 5 decades. And therefore, the decision that you have to make on September the 7th is the most serious decision that any electorate had to make in the political history of this country. And in that context, we cannot afford to make a mistake. And a mistake, as far as I'm concerned, is going to the polls and making the wrong decision, or not going to the polls at all. And I'm saying to all of you here, but more so to those people who are not here, because it is the people who are not here this evening, and those who are listening, hopefully, on the radio, and those to whom you are going to be speaking over the next 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. These are the people on whom we must be focusing, because those people who have not yet made up their minds to vote PNM, and it doesn't mean just because you love PNM, it's because you love yourself and you want to protect this country, this island, to protect your heritage and to restore sanity and good governance and dignity to Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. Those are the major reasons why you have to vote the People's National Movement. And I'm making a special appeal to those of you who believe that this election, because you don't love the PNM, you don't have to vote. I'm saying this is an election that if you love yourself, you do not have a choice but to vote Shamfa Cudjoe in Tobago West, Ayana Webster-Roy in Tobago East, and the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, when you're making a choice, this choice, there are a number of issues that you got to take into consideration. One, of course, is the issue of the credibility of the party the leader, and the individuals who come before you. And the other has to deal with their capacity to deal with the issues, and of course, the predictability that will come to you after you make your decision. And I'm saying that if one investigates and look at what is happening and the choices that face us, as somebody said earlier, this is an easy decision to make. In the first place, let us look at credibility. And I always say, if you really want to know about somebody, check the people who know them. And that is why I was very interested when I heard Ashworth Jack speak about Chrislyn Moore and Forwards Tobago. Ashworth Jack was angry. And you know, when people are angry, they just talk their mind. And Ashworth Jack was speaking, I think it was in Lansford. And he told the people of Lansford that Chrislyn Moore and the Forwards, they're deceitful. He said that. And he explained that these people pretending that they're not members of the People's Partnership, but saying that if the People's Partnership win, they're going to join them. Orville London didn't say that, you know. Ashworth Jack said that. So it means, therefore, just as we were thinking and telling you all the time, that the only difference between the TOP and Forwards Tobago is that Ashworth Jack is a minion from up front and he confessing. He's a confessed minion. But on the other hand, Chrislyn Moore and the Forwards Tobago are deceitful, conniving minions. But all of them are minions of the United National Congress. And that is something about which you should have no doubt when you look at the situation. You must also, when you're judging people, look at their track record and look at their past. And one cannot change in the last couple of weeks or couple of months before an election and expect to convince everybody. Because all the speakers before me would have indicated the track record of the TOP, would have indicated the track record of the Forwards Tobago and Chrislyn Moore, and what they would have done over the past 4.5 years. And I want you all to remember, Chrislyn Moore is attempting to give us the impression that she was not a willing member of the UNC. She's trying to give us the impression that they called her to service and she served and she left. But I want you all to think back. The last election, when Chrislyn Moore stood up on a platform in Tobago and called Orville London and Anselm London mangy dogs. Did anybody force her to do that? That was a real person coming out. That was her reintroduction after leaving Tobago for years. Her reintroduction to the people of Tobago was to come back and denigrate Tobagonians. And now she's coming back to us and telling us that she loves Tobago, even pretending that she loves Tobago more than Keith Rowley and Shamfa Cudjoe and Orville London. How can we take on people like this and take them seriously? Brothers and sisters, to a certain extent, I'm speaking to the converted. But I want to give you the kind of information that you can take into your particular spaces so that you convince those who are not yet convinced that they have to do the right thing. I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, that one of the issues with which you got to treat is the predictability, but also what is in it for me. Because election, I always say, is not just about voting for Shamfa, or voting for Ayana, or voting for the PNM, or voting for Dr. Rowley. It is about voting for what is in it for you. How do I benefit? And I look at myself as Chief Secretary, and I ask, what will I and what will Tobago benefit from a PNM government? And I know that I will sleep very, very comfortably on the night of September the 7th. Because I know that from September the 8th, there are certain issues that will either be resolved or alleviated. One of the issues that I know will be resolved in the shortest possible time is the issue of self-government for Tobago. And I know that it will be resolved because I know that the People's National Movement is the only political party whom, as we speak, or which as we speak, has in fact as a political party made a commitment not just to self-government, but to the self-government which the people of Tobago say they want. And I want you all to understand the track record of the other people. When the people of Tobago had come up with a document which represented the views and interests and demands of the people of Tobago, regardless of their political persuasions, it was Christine Moore who colluded with the central government to come here to Mama Gaius and to bring their document. It was Anselm Richards who deceitfully and connivingly went down and had discussions with other Tobagonians, with Annan Ram Logan, to produce the Annan Ram Logan document in direct confrontation or in direct conflict with the Tobago House of Assembly bill. So that if there is one individual who must take responsibility for the confusion that has come about since then, it is Anselm Richards. The same Anselm Richards who pretends that he loves Tobago so much. I know that as Chief Secretary, once we vote right on September the 7th, that the issue of water will be resolved. Because you see, you have to learn from how these people treat you. In 2010, very shortly after they came into power, the then WASA chairman, Ganga Singh, came and had a meeting with me. And in that meeting, we agreed that the major issue facing Tobago, with where water is concerned, had to do with the desilting of the Hillsborough Dam. And they agreed that they will participate. And they told the Tobago House of Assembly, what we want from you is to identify land, etc. It was accepted at that meeting that WASA, as the institution that collects water rates, obviously will be the institution that funded it. They indicated to us that they were going to be getting loans from various international institutions to fund the whole water improvement system in the country. And that was agreed. They get it curtailed in 2013 and it changed. Suddenly, after 2013, they told us they would do it, but there are no money. The THF must find the money. Now, how in the name of heaven can a Tobago House of Assembly, which in effect has been struggling for development funding for years, find the money to desilt the Hillsborough Dam? At that same point in time, they suddenly could not find money to treat with the Southwest Wastewater Treatment Plant that they said they were going to build ponds. They don't have money to be THA must find it. They suddenly couldn't find money to continue the laying of pipelines. They suddenly couldn't find money to continue digging wells, and then they started to dig wells a month ago. So that when the man from WASA, the WASA chairman or whatever, wants to tell the people of Tobago that Orville London politicizing the issue, Orville London is not politicizing the issue. Orville London is doing its job to bring to the attention of the people of Tobago how we have been treated as Tobagonians. Because while they're doing that, or not doing it in Tobago, they're spending billions of dollars in Trinidad. Because I want you to compare. I want you to compare, and that is why I say I have comfort. I want you to compare that with what happened under the People's National Movement. Under the People's National Movement, a decision was made to bring natural gas to Tobago. You know what that cost us? The line from BHP Billiton to Cove cost $1 billion. The processing plant to process the gas cost $300 million. The PNM said, if Tobago wanted, Tobago had to get it, they put out $1.3 billion. We had a problem with electricity. And they said that we can no longer depend on Trinidad for electricity. Because if a line gets cut into Trinidad, between Toco and wherever, 3-4 Tobago in trouble. Tobago must have its independent supply. They had to now put down a 64 megawatt plant. It costs $100 million US. Tobago wants it. The government of the day put out $620 million. We decided out, you all will remember, when none of us could have gone into Pigeon Point. We were little children, we had to top and peep. And we said, that is Tobago's heritage, and Tobagonians, all Tobagonians must have the opportunity to benefit from it. And the government of the day paid $108 million to Sabga for Pigeon Point. That is how we operated in those times. We had a situation at Colon. Mr. Kalinda was the member of parliament at the time. And Mr. Kalinda said, hey, they're selling Colon to the Colombians. I ain't lying. That was the reality. Said, no way that can happen. Mr. Kalinda went down, he talk, I talk, me talk. $80 million within a couple of months. $80 million, we buy Colon. Colon belongs to the people of Tobago. I am drawing these examples to make you understand what happens and what will happen if you are really linked to a caring government. Because here are these people, prepared to spend billions of dollars in Trinidad, but knowing fully well that the Tobago situation is not going to be resolved except you desilt the dam, except you build wells, and they're telling the Tobago House of Assembly, who they know was not given the funding that they should provide the funding. I am saying as Chief Secretary, I will be comforted that the whole question of land reform in Tobago, that question will be resolved once and for all. Because if I have one thing against this government, and if I have one thing against the representatives of Forwards Tobago and the representatives of the TOP, is that the number of things that were done to us as Tobagonians out of sheer spite and vindictiveness. Because we had this situation with land tenure in Tobago, has nothing to do with money. It has to do with spite and vindictiveness and revenge, and their desire not to make the PNM look good under any circumstances. So that they came into the parliament, where 3 bills were supposed to go to parliament to deal with our land tenure situation once and for all. But because they felt that if they did that, PNM will get the credit, they decided we ain't dealing with that at all. And for 5 years, the mama guys. And I was very comforted. And all of us in Tobago should be comforted when Dr. Keith Rowley said that one of the first acts of his cabinet and of a parliament that will include Shamfa, Cudjoe, and Ayana Webster-Roy is to take back those bills, brush them up, bring them back to parliament, and be able to bring relief to us in Tobago. That is the kind of thing that we're talking about. I will be comforted when we talk about an airport. Because, you know, I don't know if you saw where the Secretary of Tourism, our Secretary of Tourism, was telling the country how very dissatisfied she was with the very cosmetic, again, mama guy, with respect to the Arthur and Robinson Airport. I spoke recently about what is happening in Antigua. In Antigua, they have just opened a $100 million US airport. And Antigua is one of our major competitors. Now, when you come to Antigua as a visitor, and you walk through that $100 million airport, and then you come to Tobago, and you walk through Arthur N. Robinson, when you decide to come back out to send a friend, where are you sending them? And we are saying, therefore, that I am comforted, and this has the support of the hierarchy of the People's National Movement, that in the PNM manifesto is not no renovation to the Arthur N. Robinson Airport. It is a brand new international airport of the highest possible standard. Because you see, yes, the period ahead is going to be difficult. Yes, we are going to have challenges, but we will have to ensure that we expend our resources in activities and in projects that can bring benefit to Tobago. Because I want us as Tobagonians to recognize what is happening in the world. Oil prices are like, I don't know what it is now, but it's either bordering just above or just below $40 a barrel. It means, therefore, that our country has to encourage those sectors that can bring in foreign exchange. And one of the sectors that can bring in foreign exchange quickly and effectively is the tourism sector. In fact, Mr. Wilson, those people who are around in those times in the money circles will tell you that when oil was $8 a barrel, one of the, in fact, the major revenue earner, foreign revenue earner in the country was tourism. I was told that they used to have to scrape up the foreign exchange from Tobago and carry down to Trinidad in order to meet their obligations. I'm not saying the situation is going to reach like that, but I'm saying that we have to have a government that is sensitive to what is going on in Tobago and help us in Tobago to develop ourselves and to develop the situation. Because this is a very, very serious state of affairs. You just have to listen to what is going on internationally. And we have to understand that if we do not make the right decision and we leave these individuals in power, they are not going to make any effort to treat with the Tobago situation. I just got a message this evening where Nathaniel Moore was on High Five telling the people of Tobago that UNC has given up on Tobago. UNC gave up on Tobago a long time. But I'm saying that if we as Tobagonians don't send a very powerful signal, and I say powerful signal, to ensure that the UNC gets the message, maybe a more powerful message than they got in 2013, we might find that they are still around to play the fool. We have to get sure that they get the message, powerful message from Tobago, and a just as powerful a message from Trinidad. Because it is very clear that these people are disqualified from treating with Trinidad and Tobago people's business during the very difficult years ahead. Because I want us to be very clear, brothers and sisters. I will not stand on this platform and tell you that the period after the 7th of September is going to be easy. I am not going to stand on the platform and tell you that the challenges will suddenly be eradicated. But what I can stand on this platform and tell you is that the only leader with the capacity, with the courage, with the integrity, with the experience, with the vision to treat with the challenges that will face this country after September the 7th is Key Christopher Rowley. No two ways about it. So I say to us, brothers and sisters, that as far as I'm concerned, the vote on September the 7th is not just a development vote, it's a survival vote. Because if this country is to survive, it can survive under no other leader but Key Christopher Rowley. I want us to understand that. And you know, as I listen to the man, you know, sometimes they say when a man reaches a certain age, he can't mature. Joke. I have actually seen Key Christopher Rowley grow. And he made a statement recently that really, really pleased my heart. When he said that vindictiveness and dotishness will not be part of the PNM policy. That the PNM, unlike the UNC, would not be focused on revenge and putting people in jail and focusing only on vindictiveness and spite and discrimination. So that under the PNM, you wouldn't have thousands of people losing their jobs. And I want to say, as Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, and as leader of the PNM in Tobago, that we in the People's National Movement are not into the vindictive business. And therefore, those people in the Ministry of Tobago Development who are going to be told, who are being told that under PNM government you're going to lose your work. Tell them that the PNM believes that them all Tobagonians must be treated fairly and equally. And anybody who knows this Chief Secretary, and anybody who knows this PNM Assembly will know that that is not the way we behave. I tell people that I see the public almost every Friday. And I've seen thousands of people over the years. And I defy any one of them to tell you that I would have even tried to find out what is the political coloration. And I want to signal to the people, the workers in the Ministry of Tobago Development, that all obligations under this previous central government will be honored by this central government, because that is what governance is all about. If you take over a company, all the obligations of the company are yours. All the responsibilities of the company are yours. And therefore, under Keith Rowley as Prime Minister, under a PNM government, all the responsibilities of the government, the previous government, all those responsibilities will be honored. And I want to send that signal very loud and clear. Because you see, one of the kind of comfort that I have is that we are going to finally, after 5 years, have a central government in Trinidad whose moral compass is similar to the Tobago House of Assembly in Tobago. One of the disconnect is that we actually had two governments with totally different views as to what governance is all about. And you know, sometimes we in Tobago don't appreciate what we have. But sometimes when you make you only have to make the comparison. I want you to compare the kind of calm and peace and tranquility and predictability that you would have experienced in Tobago over the last 4 years, in comparison to the confusion and the bacchanal and the backbiting that passed for governance in Trinidad and Tobago. And think about how different the situation would be when you have a PNM government at the central PNM government in the central government, and a PNM controlled assembly where that level of calm, that level of predictability, that of a certain improvement in the level of collaboration will now become the order of the day. And that is what we are voting for in this particular election. And brothers and sisters, one of the issues about which you must all be clear is the whole question of representation. You know, I looked at our candidates, and I have had the opportunity to observe them now for more than 3 months. And I asked myself, what are the attributes that I see in them that if I were not Chief Secretary and I was maybe living where I was born in Paladevere, fishing or something like that, where would I get my comfort? And these are things you can't hide. You can't hide them because they almost intuitively come out to you. And what I see in these two young ladies is commitment, is passion, but most importantly, I see sincerity. Because the sincerity is something you can't hide, especially in public life. And you know, I must say this. I want you to look at your television and compare the vibes you get when you hear or you see a Shamfa Cudjoe. The vibes you get when you hear you see Ayana Webster-Roy. And because I'm in a generous mood, I will put it like this. And the vibes you get when you see the other people. And that is where the sincerity comes out. the kind of gut feeling that you get as a human being, listening to another human being, attempting to communicate with you. And when you get that, you understand what is inside. And I'm saying that any Tobagonian who understands about human relations, any Tobagonian making that comparison will understand that he or she has no choice. Because you see, these people didn't come to us just like that. No. They came out of a record of service. Because that is how the PNM selects its people. We have a very rigorous screening process. And that rigorous screening process does not start, we don't evaluate you from the time you come to screening. We evaluate you from before. So when we bring a candidate to you, we know that that candidate is someone who will serve because the candidate has a record of service. Look at the platform here. Jomo Pitt is a candidate because he has a record of service and became a representative. Dion Isaac has a record of service. Shamfa Cudjoe has a record of service. And that record of service is not just in the Senate. That record of service is with the people of Tobago and the way in which he has interfaced with them. Ayana Webster-Roy is the same thing. So we don't bring individuals who consider themselves that they're bright and they're intelligent and they're intellectual and they have degree, etc. And therefore, they must speak at you and lecture to you and talk down to you and come over as if they have all the answers. We are bringing to you servant leaders. And it is as servant leaders that they will function. And it is as servant leaders that they have been given their mandate to go to Trinidad and treat with certain issues. We are going to be making available our manifesto, the PNM National Manifesto. But there's also going to be a Tobago manifesto, a Tobago PNM manifesto. And in that Tobago PNM manifesto, you will have an idea of the mandate that we give to our representatives. But I want to just say one thing to you, because they will try to mamaga you. And I must say this before I wrap up. Our PNM manifesto is based on the realization that this is about selecting a central government. And therefore, our manifesto speaks to what the central government will do with respect to Tobago. So our manifesto, I heard Christian Moore and they saying that is really a THA manifesto that they bring out early. Mama guy, insult. This is a central government election. Let us deal with central government issues. So I'm saying that our manifesto will focus mainly on two things. One, those things in Tobago for which the central government is responsible. So that among the things which Ayana and Shamfa would have to do is to ensure, unlike what has happened over the past 5 years, that the central government does the things that it has to do. And they named out some of them. Build the hospitals. Ensure that we have, build the roads, build the police station, Ensure that we have public transportation. Ensure that we have air and sea transportation that is satisfactory and predictable and dignified. Make sure that you have the Arthur N. Robinson Airport built. Those are the kind of responsibilities that the central government has. But our manifesto will speak about support and facilitate, because our manifesto recognizes and puts out there very clearly that where Tobago is concerned and the Tobago House of Assembly is concerned, central government must mind its business and must not interfere in our business, but must facilitate us in carrying out our business. So that we talk about support and facilitating the Tobago House of Assembly in carrying out the Tobago House of Assembly's business. So that we don't want a manifesto that says that the central government must build health centers. We don't want a manifesto that say that the central government must build houses, but we want our manifesto has said, or is saying, and our policy and the operationalization of the policy would give Mr. Isaac, as Secretary of Housing and Settlement, give Mr. Isaac the opportunity and the resources to ensure that houses are built in Tobago, so that he will have access to grants. If they're getting grants nationally, he will get his share. If they're getting loans nationally, he will get his share. We will have the option to borrow, to involve ourselves in public-private partnership and so on. Anything that will allow us to be able to build houses. That is the kind of manifesto that you're going to be seeing. That is the kind of relationship that we are looking for. I'm saying to our brothers and sisters that we are, in fact, at a very significant crossroad in the political history of Trinidad and Tobago. We in Tobago have led the way in 2013. The recovery process for the PNM and the people of Tobago started in 2013. That is where we began to correct the 2010 mistake. And after it was corrected in Tobago in 2010, at the local government level, our Trinidad counterparts did it. Now is the time. We did it separately. Now is the time for us to do it together, because the situation has not changed. In fact, it has got worse. I have never seen a situation where, considering the kind of powerful signals that were sent to them in 2013, that they would not have made an effort to improve. But I'm saying that sometimes you're going so far down the road, you can't turn back. And these individuals have demonstrated to us that regardless of the lessons that they should have learned, they are not going to change. So we did it separately in 2013. We have an opportunity to do it together in 2015. I have every confidence that we in Tobago are going to do it well, and that we are going to do it powerfully, and that we're going to do it in significant numbers. I am saying to us, our mantra is deposit time. It is not enough just to win. I will be very disappointed, and I will say this on every platform, if any of the candidates going up against the PNM manages to retain his or her deposit. Very, very disappointed. That is all, because the sins are too grave. The injustices inflicted on the people of Tobago and the people of Trinidad and Tobago have been too numerous. The insults that we have experienced, all of those things we must punish. We must punish them for what they have done to us. And we must also save ourselves from a possible repetition. I am very, very pleased of our choice of candidate. I'm very, very pleased in our choice of leader. And I'm saying in those circumstances, we have no excuse not to do the right thing. We did the right thing in 2013 in the face of blandishments and bribes and bullying, and we stood firm. Tobago will stand firm again. But I want to just ask you, implore you, plead with you, do not let the battle end this evening in Signal Hill. I want you to go there and convince the yes yet unconvinced. I want you to change the undecided into committed. I want you to go there and continue the crusade, because this is too serious for us not to do it, and for as many people as possible to do it. And it is with the confidence that you all have got the message. It is with the confidence that each of you has now become not just a messenger, but a crusader, that I urge you to go out and do what has to be done. And if all of us go out and do what has to be done, and we take the deposits in Tobago, and we take the seats in Trinidad, all of us will be able to do the arithmetic. And when the arithmetic turns out right, with one loud voice and with one figurative hand stretched across the waters, all right-thinking people of Trinidad and Tobago can join and say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. I thank you, good evening, and may God bless all of us.